Hi, my name's Kat Moses and this is Uncommon.
Uncommon is a production by Neural, an agency that helps both brands and talent tell their story. To learn more, just visit neural.com. That's NEURALLE.com. My guest this week, Kat Moses, Managing
Hello.
Director of MGMT and co-founder of C Clear. Unfortunately, Billy didn't pull through with the goods for an opener, but maybe we'll talk about...
Well, what did you want for the opener?
I don't know, just some...
I'll give it to you. What do you want?
Just
I'll give
an
it to you.
inside joke of some kind. Jacob and I were mulling over touch football at uni games or your obsession
Who
with
did you
TikTok.
talk to? Oh my God. Touch football at uni games?
Yeah.
Who did you dig up?
Don't know, where did we find that?
Well, why? Well, I don't even know what I've walked into. I haven't looked at any questions. I've been given no rundown of what this is.
LinkedIn. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I was plugging my touch football at uni games on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's so funny. Fuck.
Billy, if you're listening, go update my LinkedIn.
Yeah. TikTok, though, sounds like you're a bit obsessed with it, like I am. Who are you enjoying the most at the moment?
I haven't been on it a lot in the past 2 weeks because I've been launching another brand. But I'm always a big fan of like an Addison Rae. I'm a bit of a basic bitch.
Okay.
So like I love like watching the rise of these people become like full-on celebrities.
Okay.
So like the Addison Raes, but then I also like the Noah Miller, like the N Mills. And then...
Noah as in...
N Mills, the guy with the curly blonde hair.
Yeah, I know who you're talking
I think
about.
he's hilarious.
Yeah.
So those type of people. But then I just watch heaps of like random like comedy videos or... Yeah, that's really it. There's no like certain... I'm not like a TikTok fan.
Yeah. Is there anyone here in Australia that really intrigues you on TikTok?
No.
Okay.
I find the Americans more entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is.
Yeah, it sort of sounds like the ones that you are following are like the it girls, the it guys.
Yeah, like as I said, I'm basic. Like I'm a Kardashian lover. I'm a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Like that's what I watch when I'm having like downtime.
Okay. That's fair enough.
I'm sorry. Is that not the answer you
No,
wanted?
that's totally fine. I'm not judging. I'm not judging.
You looked a bit judgmental just then.
I'm curious then, this basic bitch, let's go back to her early life. What's sort of your earliest memory ever?
Ever?
Yeah.
It can be anything.
Yep.
I think it's when my younger brother was born.
Okay.
I just remember being at my grandparents' and I would have been like 4 at the time, 4 or 5. And I was at my grandparents. And I remember my dad walking in and saying, okay, it's like, are you ready to come meet Mitchell? That's what I remember. I don't know why. That's just always been with me.
Mitchell, young Mitchell. And
Mitchell.
what do you remember about that? Like, do you remember being excited?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because my older brother is such an asshole to me. So I think the younger one, I was like, fuck yeah, there's someone new.
What's the older one's name?
Stephen.
Not very like, so your family's Lebanese, right? Mitchell's not a very Lebanese name, is it?
No, Mitchell. So Mitchell was named. So my mum originally wanted to name Stephen Mitchell.
Okay.
And my dad was like, no. Then Mitchell was born and she was in love with this soap, this drama, this character called Mitchell on this like, almost like a Bold and the Beautiful type of show.
Okay.
And that's
how she got it.
Yeah, that's why she named him Mitchell.
Wow.
I know, it's real fascinating stuff.
My parents picked Greek names that were not too Greek. I remember
But Greeks really like to tell you that they're Greek.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my parents not so much. But my dad at least, he wanted to be as Aussie as meat pie. Like, and if you look at him, he looks very Mediterranean, very dark.
Yeah.
But as soon as he opens his mouth, it's like a bogan.
Yeah, like you don't seem like the Greek people that I know.
No. And that's because my mum is really fair.
Right.
Yeah, like blonde hair.
No, but
blue
even
eyes.
like your personality and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I distinctly remember as a kid telling my dad that I was pissed off that he didn't call me Dimitri.
Why?
I don't know.
Why did you want to be called Dimitri?
I was 8. Who knows? Like,
That is
I was
so random.
I was obsessed with this guy that I was friends with at soccer whose name was Dimitri. I thought he was the coolest dude ever. And I was like, why don't I have this really Greek name? Yeah, that's so funny. So growing up, what did you think you were going to be?
What age bracket are we talking here? I feel like I have no memory from like 5 to like 16.
5 to 16.
Like I don't know what happened.
That's a big gap.
I don't know what I wanted to be. I wanted I remember always, it's funny because you don't, unless you do like self-reflection later in life and you look back on, you know, high school, primary school, whatever it is, and you kind of like look at that and think, how did I feel in those moments, blah, blah, blah. And I look back and I remember never feeling, I didn't feel like I belonged. Like I always had friends, like I was, you know, in like the popular group and I was always like, you know, that was fine. But I always felt like a little bit misunderstood.
Why is that?
I think I went to schools where like, not that I'm like, you know, like I'm Lebanese, but it's not like it comes out in me, like in my personality and stuff. But I think there was like a bit of like cultural differences where like going to a school where it's like mainly just full like Australians.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like my family upbringing, the way we were raised is very different to a lot of people that I know. And I think that growing up with just brothers and then going to an all-girls school, I kind of had that missing like emotional, like I was never like emotional.
Yeah.
And I was always like, I would get called like, oh, you're a bitch or you're like rude or you're, when I wasn't being, but people, I think girls in that age bracket like can't.
They're brutal.
Yeah, but if you're not used to that, then you're a bitch.
Yeah.
So I kind of struggled a bit with like, I would always be told like I was too much of something or I was too loud or I was too aggressive or too opinionated. It was always like I was too. And then when I went to university, I started to meet people who were more like me and I got along with really well. And then it wasn't until like I started MGMT and I started to connect with like-minded people. And that's when I was like, oh, I've found my people.
Yeah. Where did you grow up and where did you go to school?
So I grew up in a suburb called Oatlands, which is about 5 minutes from North Parramatta, so Western Sydney.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Western Sydney and, yeah, 2 brothers, very like sporting family. Like it was very focused on sports, not so much a focus on academics. I'm not very academic. Yeah.
Did you go to school around that area as well?
I went to school probably 20 minutes. So I went to school in Pennant Hills.
Okay.
So I went to an all-girls Catholic school.
Right.
20 minutes from Parramatta. And I think that my mum made that decision on purpose because I think that she wanted me to have friends that were outside because like North Parramatta is very like a Lebanese community.
Yeah.
And so I think she wanted me to mingle with like just outside of that community and not just make that my friendship group.
I can totally understand what you would have went through at high school. I know in the first 3 years I went through something similar and it wasn't because I'm necessarily woggy, like you said. I don't come across that way. But I came from an area which was woggy and then my family moved to an area which was, let's say, more well off. We lived in Bentley and McKinnon and then we moved to Brighton when I was like 12 or 13. Went to school and there was distinct, I would say, differences in like socioeconomic status more than anything. So you go to school, lunchtime, you're eating these sandwiches with like mozzarella, salami, rocket, like all this crazy stuff and kids are looking at you like, what the fuck? But that wasn't the thing for me. It was the fact that kids had like $50 notes to go to the tuck shop.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't comprehend that because I'd never had a $50 note myself.
Yeah.
And that, you know, for those first 3 years, because of that, I was perceived as, let's say, different. And I only really had one friend during that whole time. And
that's sad.
Because of that, you get teased. And so you build up this real, like, shield. And you become
You were teased?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Like, I guess just like what I said, like those little
You're so
things.
nice though. Why would they tease you?
I don't know. I don't know what I was like
Little
at
assholes.
13, 14. But kids can be mean at that age. Like,
Yeah.
And, I've come from an area where they've not grown up. They've all come from the junior school because it was at a private school.
Oh, okay.
So my brother and I got a scholarship to this private school. And mainly thanks to my brother.
So you're not really meant to be there.
Not meant to really be
Yeah.
there, no. They'd have, like, a good example would be the lunches thing or, like, phones. I didn't have a phone up until, like, year 8. Mm-hmm. But then when I did, it would be, like, my dad's hand-me-down flip Ericsson phone, and they'd have, like, the new 9910 that you click it and it comes out and it's, like, a fucking $1,000 phone. It's so nice. So it was just little differences like that, and it took years to really develop friendships. But like I said, it's probably the similar thing that you may have had where because of that, you become not so much defensive, but it just makes you, I don't know, like it made me stronger as a person. More resilient. Way more resilient, more disagreeable. Like if people would tease me after the first year, I learnt to sort of fire back a bit more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I never took the high road.
But never ever.
Even now I don't take
But that's also in your personality because, the thing that you spoke about is something that my sister had as well, because I feel like in Greek, Lebanese, Italian families, there's a loudness to you. There's a disagreeableness that is maybe a little bit above average.
Oh, yeah.
It's just you're more opinionated. You're more, our dinner table sessions is like it starts at football and then ends in an argument about politics. And then I'd go over to friends' houses and they just wouldn't have that. For a start, they wouldn't even be sitting for dinner with their parents.
Yeah, right.
So I can totally see that growing up, that would be a thing for you, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think I had to learn how to communicate with people on how they receive communication.
Yeah.
And I think that was where I went wrong a lot of the time. So I think what's helped me with the talent management side is reading someone really well and understanding how they receive communication and making sure that I'm communicating, whether it's my tone of voice or things that I say or how I deliver feedback or criticism or whatever it is, to have an understanding of how someone else wants to receive that, I think has really helped me with business and just even me as a person. And I think a lot of people can lack that skill set.
Yeah, I can already see just in our conversation going down to get coffee, setting up, that the opinions that you have and the disagreeableness would be so valuable in conversations with brands, in conversations with talent. And sometimes, I would actually say most of the time you're just not born with that, so to speak. It has to be developed or pulled out of you.
Definitely. You can't be taught that stuff.
No.
But I was probably you're a product of your environment. So that would be a reflection of my family and how they communicate and how they deal with things. I'm not saying they do it right. They are fucking aggressive. But I think I've taken bits of that and applied it, outside, in everyday life.
Speaking of your family again, is there any particular lessons that you had growing up that you still hold with you today? Like for me, it was just seeing the hard work of my dad. Like he wouldn't come home till 11 at night. So when I was younger, I didn't really see him at night. Or if I went on a Saturday, I'd go with him to the factory because mum was busy with something. And so I'd just be sitting there just watching the printing machines go, like the smell of fresh paper. Dad's just rushing around everywhere. Did you ever have anything like that?
Yeah, there was always an emphasis on family and the importance of family. So not just your immediate family, but your extended family as well. So growing up, we would every Sunday go to my grandparents' house for an barbecue. And my mum is a kid of 7. Wow. So I have 25 first cousins just on that side. So there'd be 30 to 40 of us every Sunday afternoon having a barbecue. And I think a lot of my mum's brothers and sisters, they're all entrepreneurs. They all own their own businesses. My grandfather migrated here at the age of 16 with nothing and bought his wife over here, who's my grandmother, and built himself up, worked so hard. And I think that's always been ingrained in me, growing up, that you don't work for someone else.
Yeah.
You make your own money, you build your own life, and it was a real emphasis on like, don't let people walk over you.
Yeah.
But also be really kind to people and be respectful and be nice. But like, don't let someone kind of take you for a ride type of thing. Like always be aware, always ask questions. Don't be too trusting at the start. And they, you know, they can be downfalls, those characteristics. But I think having that instilled in me of like always asking questions and always kind of not retaliating straight away and kind of thinking about something before it and not believing people straight away, but sort of
being
like
skeptical.
Yeah, just sort of being like, no one's that nice. Why are you so nice? There's something going on there. So I think just like being around, I think my family and like my extended family have really like shaped me for who I am now.
And this is your mum's family, this grandfather you spoke about?
Yeah, I'm closer to my mum's side than my dad's side. But my dad has a beautiful side as well. So, but they're more like my mum's side are more like business oriented and they're a bit more, I guess, I want to say the word aggressive, but they're a bit more like opinionated and out there, whereas my dad's side are a bit more mellow and respectful. And
I've got a similar thing.
You don't always have to give your opinion. Like that's sort of them. Yeah,
dad's side's like that. Every single uncle. There's 4 boys in the family, including my dad. Every single uncle has a business with their wife.
Oh, yeah.
So always family-run businesses. Mm-hmm. But mum is one of 10.
Oh, wow.
But they're very, very different. So, yeah, it's a similar dynamic, and it's interesting to see how that, like, impacts you growing up. Let's talk about studies. I was intrigued to look at yours, Bachelor of Commerce, Macquarie, straight into a media sales gig at SBS. Mm-hmm. A year later, you fall into the job at Chic Management. Mm-hmm. 18 months later, you probably realise, shit, I could probably do this on my own just as well. If you think about that little period of your life before running MGMT, what seemed like the greatest insight that you picked up and brought into the business?
Probably working in sales at SBS was a big one, because I think that gave me the skill set that I've got now in terms of just negotiating, client relationships, networking, also dealing with all different types of people, like different age groups, different genders. When you work in sales at a company like SBS, the top management is probably all men in their 40s. And, being, I think, what was I, 21 at the time or something, 22, you start to learn very quickly that if you speak up as a young female in that environment, that's just not what you do.
Okay.
And so I think that's why I only lasted 9 months there. Like, I actually got put on a behavior.
Like a management.
Thing. And I think one of the points was I had like a talking limit. So like I was only allowed to like talk within like certain hours of the day to other people. And I'm a very social person. So
I'm just trying to check what year you graduated and went into the workforce. I'm like, fuck.
I graduated, what, high school or university?
No, uni.
2012. Yeah.
Fuck, okay, so that was a legit, I don't know if that would go under the Fair Work.
Oh, no, it definitely wouldn't. It wouldn't be right
and fucking
now.
SBS too.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was intense. It was very...
But what were you doing that stirred... Like, were you just...
I don't think that my direct manager liked that I had an opinion or that I got along with his clients better than he did. I think... I don't know. I think back then, and it still happens now, but I think back then it was like a bit of like a competitive, like competition, I guess.
I think when you're very capable and you get into an organization where they've got middle management and top management, it becomes very apparent very quickly that you're not going to work out of that organization. I had a company I worked for, Ibersword, for 5 years. And after the first 9 months, I realized that it was then and there that I realized I can't keep working for other people.
Yeah.
And I put on myself that I was going to do something else, and that's where the podcast came about. And from that point onwards, I just shut my mouth and just focused on that. I remember doing I reckon I did 3 hours work a day maximum. But it was enough to get the job done. But if you so much as showed an opinion that was rational, critical, whatever, you would have some middle manager. It's always can we have a chat?
Oh,
can we have a chat?
Love to have a chat.
You got a minute? I remember one day specifically.
Yes, they got a minute.
Yeah,
and
you
they
got
have
a
like
minute.
the notebook in their hand.
It's like, and the thing is, most of the time they're doing it not because they want to, but because the boss who's in the big office, the job that they're gunning for eventually is telling them just to, like, you tell this person to be politically correct. We don't do this thing this way here. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. When you just said you didn't want to work for someone else, that's exactly what went through my mind. I was like, I don't, not that I think I'm better than anyone else, not that I think that like I'm too good to work for someone else. It's not that. It was more just.
It doesn't align with your personality.
It doesn't suit my personality.
Yeah.
And I think once I realized that, I was like, I'm going to own my own business one day.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I'm going to.
Now, can I ask, at that time, were you having these conversations? Did you ever have conversations with your parents and speak about this fact? Because I remember at that time, I would say it to my dad, and my dad was the classic case of like, you don't want to do an apprenticeship, you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you got to do a profession. So accounting, lawyer, consultant, investment banker, like anything in that professional tier, doctor, whatever. In my case, I did like accounting and economics. I fucking hate it. Like, as soon as I got out into the workforce, I was like, holy shit, I've done the wrong thing here. And,
I don't think your personality suits that.
No, but I've got my dad who I want to impress, I respect because of what he's done, bearing down on me with this idea. And then you come to them with that and they're just like, nah, don't.
Yeah.
Did you have anything like that?
I think your parents do that because they just worry about you.
Yeah, I think so.
It comes from a place of like...
Oh, 100%.
They just care so much.
Yeah.
No, my parents were really... They've always been super supportive of everything that I've wanted to do. But I think that's because out of the three of us, I'm the one that's probably the most responsible and can do things on my own, and I don't need mum holding my hand to do everything. Whereas the other
Stephen and Mitchell.
But you know what? That's like wog mums with their sons.
Yeah.
They are obsessed with them, and that's how it is. But I think that my parents just really trusted me. I never gave them a reason to doubt me or not trust me. So when I said that I wanted to open up my own business, it was really just like, oh, okay. And I think because, like, as I said, like my mum's side, really, that's all that they do as well. Like, they just run their own thing. It wasn't a shock to the system for them. But my parents didn't run their own businesses. They worked for people.
Right.
But yeah, they were like, yeah, like if that's what you want to do, like give it a go. You have your degree. If you ever have to go back into the workforce. And that was always my mentality of, oh yeah, like I'll just go work for someone if this doesn't work. And that's so easy to have that mentality at 24 though, when you're living at home, you've got no overheads.
No rent.
Like you kind of think that you can do anything that you want.
Yeah.
And the thought of doing that now at 30 scares the shit out of me. Like I'm like, no fucking way I can't do that. But yeah, so I and I had no savings, but I did take a loan from my younger brother, but paid that back after like a year or two. And that was kind of it. I never went to my parents for money, even though I could have. Like I could have been like, guys, I'm fucking drowning. Like I need help. Instead, I went and got a job at a pub. I was working 4 nights a week till like 3 a.m. in the fucking pokies room, getting hit on by just gross guys, but like taking their tips because I needed the money.
Yeah.
And then would work on MGMT for like 12 hours the next day.
During the day. Wow.
Yeah.
Which pub can you say?
The Palace in Mortlake.
Okay. Palace in Mortlake. One day you go back with the kids and be like, look, kids, this is where this is where it all started.
No.
So talk me through MGMT. So you launched it. It's obvious and easy to see this now, like in hindsight, oh yes, digital influencers, fashion, beauty, lifestyle and travel. But who were the original creators that backed you in, that went with you? Did you pull anyone from Chic? Were you able to do that? What was the first year like?
So the first year was, I had lost my driver's license for 6 months.
Okay.
That was the first bit.
Why?
Just a build up of like too many fines and stuff. It wasn't like one, like I didn't do anything really bad. It was just a build up. So 6 months, had no license, had no savings. I think maybe I had $5,000 in savings. Went through that straight away. And it was a lot of in-person meetings of me with brands and clients who obviously I had built those relationships up with when I was at Chic.
Yeah.
But it was having to go to them face to face because I didn't have a website the first year. I didn't have like decks to send them. I didn't have because I didn't have any money to do all that. So it was literally me meeting with them in person and just fucking selling myself and doing that with talent as well and trying to convince them why they should leave, you know, an agency that's been around for 30 plus years to give this girl at 24 who has a fucking driver's license a go.
Yeah.
So the first year was a lot of me just selling myself and long hours, and that was when I was working at the pub. I was very much like, oh my God, like I wasn't exercising. My skin was awful because I was so stressed. Like that was a really hard year for me. I remember like looking back, but the first girl that came over, and I always say that I'm forever grateful for her, is Eleanor Pendleton, who is the editor of Gritty Pretty. She's also a beauty influencer, and she's still to this day one of like my best friends. And she trusted me, and she actually was the one where I was like, hey, I'm kind of over this place. Like, I think I start my own thing. She was like, yep, do it. She's like, you are resigning in 2 weeks from now. I'm like, I don't even know what the business is going to be. I don't know what it's going to be called. She's like, nope, you need to do it. If you don't set a date, then you're never going to do it. So she pushed me. And 2 weeks later, I handed my resignation letter in, and I was like, okay, I'm doing this.
Wow. And when did she sign with you? How long afterwards?
Like a week.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so she just left. She was like, yep, I'm going Cat. And just from there, it just started to slowly build. But it was just very much like, I remember like back then, I'd be like, oh my God, I just want some emails to come through. I really like, you know? And now it's like fucking emails coming out of my ears. But I'm like, back then, like you're just like, oh my God, I want to work. And then without even realizing it, you're running a business.
Yeah. When you look back at that, you spoke about before that you weren't exercising, your skin was no doubt breaking out from the stress. You would have been slogging away with brands. I remember in the last week, I've had one of those weeks where you just sit there and just go, fuck, man, like this is so tough.
Yeah.
Explain that low point for you, and how did you get through that?
I remember a moment where my really like good friends, I was just shit to be around. Like I was angry all the time. I had an attitude. It was always poor me. Like I'm doing this. Like you guys don't understand how hard this is. Like just being so dramatic. And I think a lot of it was just to do with like the finances. And because I was too proud to like take a handout from my parents or let them support me or whatever, I also look back and I'm so happy that I didn't do that, because it really pushed me to grow the business. If I had that, I just would have been it would have been too cushiony. Like I wouldn't have pushed myself. Yeah, it's too easy. And I remember it was like my friends were just like, honestly, Kat, like we're trying to support you, but we can't be around this.
Wow. So it was almost like an intervention.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck, like you're right. Like I don't want to be around myself. Like I'm pissing myself off. Like I want to get away from me. So that was when I thought of like, okay, you're not too good to go and get a side job while you build MGMT. I think I had this like mentality back then of, oh, you're a failure if you like go and work at a pub. And, you know, but now I look back and I'm like, that pub job was the best thing I ever did.
Built you.
Yeah.
And when you think about the moment where you knew that it clicked, when was that moment for you?
I'm trying to think. No, I can't like pinpoint it. It must have been, I feel like it would have been one of Eleanor's beauty deals. It must have been like a 12-month contract with like an Estee Lauder or something.
Yeah.
It would have been like probably like my first like big deal.
Like a known household brand.
Yeah, and I think it was probably something where it was a deal that had brought in like a good amount of cash flow, because I was still working at the pub for like a year and a half.
Wow.
And then I still wasn't paying myself until probably the 3rd year of MGMT. But even when I say I was paying myself, it was like 50 grand a year. Like it wasn't really anything.
Yeah.
And then the 4th year was when it started to like really pick up, and I was like able to hire people and pay myself a decent salary, and people started to recognize the brand name and kind of know who I was. And then that was when like I had talent reaching out to me, wanting me. I was like, what? I was like, you know about me?
Yeah.
So I think maybe, probably 3rd or 4th year when it kind of like started to hit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had some of those things happen, but not fully everything, you know, like talent have reached out, but it's like, probably not the right fit. Probably
You know what? It's actually quite, you know what? There's my moment. It's when I was able to say no to people.
Yeah.
When I didn't have to keep just saying yes because I needed them. It was like, oh my God, I can say no. I think that was really it.
You. Yes, you. Are you intrigued by this episode? If so, go to our footer on the website, neurale.com, neural.com. We're going to give you an insight. Each week it's going to be on business, marketing, or a topic that we covered in the episode. At all, we would love your support, and it would help us in developing the intellect around this series. But without going on too much longer, let's get back into this episode. So I know with Martha and Michael, they're not the only amazing talent that you manage. I mean, it's super impressive to see your roster. You've got the Hong sisters, you've got Sarah. There's so many on that list, but what's even better about it is it's a confined list. There's not too many people, and they're all unique in their own way. I'm personally quite a fan of a lot of those guys, particularly Martha and Michael. I guess I was curious, what have you learnt from them about media and marketing when working with talent?
With them in particular, we kind of started, like when I met Martha, oh my God, probably almost 3 years ago now, 2 years ago, I can't remember. She was new to this whole thing. But what she was doing, I was also new to that. So I hadn't really like done much in the traditional media landscape, so like TV and all that type of stuff, which is obviously what she grew from. So it was sort of us both learning as we went. But I think what's great about her and I is that, again, we connected on a personal level. So there was a strong trust between us. So she trusted me, I trusted her. She knew that I would never put her into a situation that she would not be comfortable in, or that would risk her image or anything like that. And I think that a lot of talent maybe don't have that 100% trust with their manager.
Yeah.
So she took a gamble on me by signing with me, but I also took a gamble on her because I had never, MGMT wouldn't really manage a reality star before, but I remember seeing her on Maths and I just thought like, she's so interesting. She has something to her. I just don't think that this show is showing people what that is.
No.
And when I met her, we connected instantly. Like it was almost like we had known each other already. I don't know if it's because like we're both WOGs and we have like similar families, and we just connected really well. And yeah, it's been, I guess, both of us just kind of, you know, taking each opportunity as it comes and analysing that opportunity and looking at the pros and cons of doing it. And, okay, how do we make sure that we're negotiating this deal properly? And, like, that comes down to me and tapping into my resources that I have, like my mentors or people that I've connected with who maybe have experience in those areas and, you know, going to them for help. But then also making sure that I also am like catering to her personality and her image and stuff like that. So I've learnt a lot in the past 2 years working with Martha and Michael.
Yeah. And it would have opened up things that, like you said, ordinarily you wouldn't have had the opportunity to work within. And it brings up this interesting point of like pockets of opportunity because, I mean, for us as an agency, sort of similar, we both work with brands and talent, whether it's social media or influencers. We've got this sub-specialization, let's say, in TikTok now. I was just curious from your perspective as a fellow agency owner, where do you think a lot of talent managers consistently leave dollars on the table? Where are they making mistakes?
I think a lot of talent agents, because when I meet with talent who are maybe leaving their agency and I get that kind of feedback from them, they tell me about a job that their agent did. And I think a lot of agents miss the opportunity to perhaps upsell or give a client another way of doing something or an add-on or give an advice on, say they come to you with a brief and then me as the talent agent knowing my talent so well, I'm like, actually, guys, this is great, but I think that it might be better this way or, you know, what's your budget? Because I think adding this on or like, do you have a bit more budget and we can add this on?
This will get a better outcome.
Yeah. And I think a lot of talent agents just receive the brief, quote whatever's on there.
And go with it. Yeah.
And that's it. And that's probably what you would call a booker.
Yeah.
Whereas what I find is really looking at that opportunity and being like, okay, what more can we do here? How can we make it more in line with the talent?
Yeah. How can we create value?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that's actually something I've learned from Jen from Day Management.
Yeah.
She told me that. She's like I remember when I first asked her like how do you price your talent? Like do you do a CPM? Do you do this? Do you do that? And she's like, I just price it based on value.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what does that even mean? But that's like pricing to fit what the opportunity is. And it means that you know, what you do, what Jen does, if you only have a certain amount of people, that gives you the space to do that. Mm-hmm. But if you're an agency like Chic or IMG or all these other big agencies that got like hundreds of people on their roster, you don't have the time to do that.
No.
You just have to, because you're getting so many queries. You got to take it in, review the brief, price it, speak to the talent. Do they want to do it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've thought about that as MGMT grows because it is growing. And we are taking on more talent who, like there's talent where it's like just quick jobs like here and there, but then you have your talent where it's more of those like bigger partnerships. They need more of a strategy around them, whatever it might be. And I feel like we're taking on more of that type of talent. And so me as a business owner, I've had to look at it and go, okay, do I need to hire another talent manager and train them up as me?
Yeah.
And make sure that that talent is getting what they would get from me, even though it's not me personally doing it. But then I also think, oh, fuck, have they only signed because of me?
Yeah, that's that's a thing, huh?
Yeah, and it's like I had this conversation literally just before with a friend, and I said to him, like, he's like, oh, you know, would you sell the business? And I was like, but it's not selling the business, it's selling me.
Yeah, there's nothing to buy.
Me.
Yeah, there's nothing to buy. It's all the key man. Like, it's not even. Yeah, it's so funny because we had someone approach us to like buy a portion of the business, and I was like, "What are you buying? I'm buying it. Like,
what are you buying?
Like, there's nothing here but us people. Like,
yeah. So I think I'm trying to do next is try and create other me's. But so when people think of MGMT or they come there for that management, they're not like, oh, I'm coming there for Kat. I'm coming there because no matter what talent agent that I am with, I'm going to get that experience that I would get if I was with Kat.
Yeah. So today, how many staff do you have with MGMT?
3.
Okay. And do they just work on the jobs, or are they dealing with the talent directly for their I don't know, monthly, weekly meetings, catch up? Like, how does it work for you?
So I still do the bigger partnerships for all talent across the board. Sophie she manages all the talent as well, but she more does like the smaller jobs or the quicker turnaround type of jobs. And then Jasmine does like my accounts and admin, and then Billy does our social media and digital. So that's how I've kind of split it up. But as I said before, what's happening is that I'm taking on bigger talent.
Yeah.
And so it's bigger partnerships. So then I'm doing more of like the everyday talent management stuff, and it's taking me away from running the business, building the business, that kind of bigger picture stuff.
What will you never walk away from? Like, as an example there, I'm no longer involved in the sort of management of the campaigns, but I'll always book them, so to speak, and go through that conversation with the brand.
Yeah.
I will never, and it's tough at the moment because we have, let's say, 15 creators. Every month we have like a sit-down meeting on top of chatting to them through WhatsApp, text, whatever it may be. I have a sit-down meeting with them and talk about what's going on in their life, content, monetization, just everything basically. And that's 15 hours a month if you think about it, at least.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot, but it's so valuable for me because we're able to sort of just pick up on things, and I can look at the whole roster at a higher level as well.
Yeah, I think that's maybe how I would do it.
Yeah.
I think I would still do the deal.
Yeah.
Get the deal done, because not that I don't have control issues, but
no one can sell
which is
like
what
a
someone
business
says
owner.
when they do have a control issue.
Yeah. But no one can sell like the business owner.
Yeah, and I think because I really do care about my talent so much that I just want to make sure that they are getting the best possible deal done, and you know, they're being looked after. Not that the people that work for me or who I would hire wouldn't do that, but it's different when you own your own business. Like, you're naturally going to care more. You're, you know, like if, you know, for people who work for businesses, it's not that they don't care about the company or the business, but their level of care is never going to be the same level of care that the business owner has.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think I would still do the bigger deals, get them done, and then the campaign management, the admin side of it, I can then filter out to whoever that might be.
Yeah.
And I would still want to do the client-facing meetings.
Yeah.
Because I really like doing those. I like connecting with the clients. I like coming up with ideas. So I think it's more like taking that, as you said, that like other workload off my plate, which would free up a lot of time.
I thought about this a lot as to who, like, what are the positions I'd hire to fill certain things that I'm doing. And I almost think like an account director makes sense, or some sort of sales director makes sense to handle the initial conversation. So you're still involved in those value conversations, but you're also still involved in the talent side of things. Because I've noticed in some agencies with other people we're going to go interview and they've left X agency, these agencies have like a really prominent talent manager and then others that sort of fill in.
Yeah.
Or like a PR person that fills in. And what often happens is they just end up leaving with the talent because basically the principal or the owner does less and less of that talent stuff, which goes back to that whole key man thing that you've got to sort of balance.
Yeah.
So I thought about that.
That has crossed my mind too.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, what if they get closer to the what if they get
Love
closer?
me.
Fuck. Do you still like me?
Yeah.
I think that's probably why I haven't done it yet, because I'm like, oh my God, what if they figure out that I'm not good at what I do?
But that's also the best thing about the job as well, is being involved with the talent. So I think
I wouldn't ever stop being involved with the talent. I think it's more what you said, the campaign management, the chasing up content and getting that live and that type of stuff. I think in order for me to grow MGMT again, because we just went through a growth period, but to grow it again, I think I need to start to filter that stuff out, because that takes up a lot of my time when I could be doing other stuff.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about C Clear. You launched with Morgan I think from what we read and were able to find out, you were chatting with Morgan how there was basically no cool options.
Where did you, I want to know where you read this.
We just basically, whenever we do research on someone, we read everything, we listen to everything. Jacob's listened to every interview you've ever done.
I haven't done that many.
Every podcast.
It didn't take very long.
That's a good thing, right? Not too much time. So, there was no cool options on the market for clear, minimal stuff, and particularly for cosmetics. So I was just curious, you've had this life in services. You've always had there's always a want for entrepreneurs in services to get into the product game. After a while, I noticed
I've learned that. I've seen that.
You obviously utilized the Saucy Boys to launch and develop the product.
Yeah.
I initially thought, like I said, that it was all about merch for talent.
No. I want it all for myself.
Yeah, me. What's been the biggest challenge since switching from services to products?
I've actually really enjoyed it.
Okay.
To be honest, I think I've always had an interest in product. I've always had an interest in how companies brand themselves with a product. Like, how do you give a product a tone of voice? How do you...
Yeah.
That type of stuff, those subjects always interest me at university. And I think I said to you when we were talking before that probably 3 years into MGMT, I was like, I want to do something different. I don't want to stop doing MGMT, but I need another outlet.
Yeah.
And I think what I realized was that I really love the start of something. I loved to create the concept, to build it out, to, see how it goes. To build something from nothing is just, it's crazy to me. The fact that MGMT didn't exist 5 years ago and now it funds my whole life and it pays other people and it's given people jobs it's really hard to wrap your mind around.
I get a sense that you love the adrenaline of, things starting out, so to speak.
Yeah, I find that really fun. And then as soon as it kind of starts to run itself, I'm like, great, what's next? Mm-hmm. So See Clear, it's been a real learning experience because I've only ever done services, as you said. So I'm not used to paying for such big overheads. And when the Saucy Boys cost this much, I'm like, are you fucking joking? I'm not paying that. And they're just like, what do you mean? That's what it costs. I'm like, what? So that's been a real learning experience. But Morgan also didn't come from a product background. So you've got two people starting a product business who have no experience in product. She only started working at PE Nation 2 years ago.
Okay.
So when we started it, she wasn't even at PE. She was still doing creative direction, graphic design work with as a contractor.
Wow, so you started looking at this 2 years ago?
Probably 2 to 3 years ago. So actually it would have been, you know what? It would have been 3 years ago. It would have been maybe 3.5 years ago, I reckon. The initial idea, because I was still living at home. That's right. I was still living at home because I remember sitting in my driveway and I would always finish my calls in my car because as soon as I go in the house, everyone wants to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I remember I was on the phone to her and we were just talking about, I think we were going somewhere. She was going overseas or I was going somewhere. And we were saying how we wanted a cool, clear cosmetic case that would fit into our carry-on bags. So when we went to airport security, we had all our liquids in there and we had something really cute to pull out because as you can probably see, I like to dress nice. I like things to look nice.
Really?
She was like, I haven't found anything. And what we found was that there was stuff on the market, but it was either a gift with purchase type of thing or it was just branded not nice. And so I said to her, I was like, why don't we just do it? And she laughed and she was like, yeah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, we should do it. And again, she was like, yeah, maybe we should, nothing much. 2 days later, I was like, so I got us an ABN. We're doing this. This is what we're doing. And she's like, what the fuck? And because Morgan had never had a business before or started a business, and I think maybe because I had, it didn't really scare me. I was like, yeah, you can just do it and, see what happens. Doesn't work. Who gives a fuck? We both got jobs. Who cares? That's always been my mentality. And I remember we were talking about business names and See Clear popped up. I think I thought of See Clear because we wanted it to be like, we wanted the name of the brand to like obviously speak to what the product is. So it was like, yeah, you can see your stuff. Like it's clear. It's a clear bag and you can see in it. So yeah, and it was initially meant to be SEE, like C. Okay. But someone had taken that name. So that's the only reason why I changed it to the C.
I think that's better though.
Yeah, so it actually turned out a lot better. Like things that like it's funny how like the universe works. Like it wasn't meant to be for that and it worked out better.
I guess the thing as well is if it does well, you now have a brand platform to work within, which is clear.
Yes.
So is it jackets, umbrellas, shoes? Like the application can go anywhere.
Yeah. So the concept is we are happy to go into any category as long as it doesn't have to be fully clear, but there's got to be a clear aspect to the product.
Yeah.
So we thought of the 4 products that we launched with officially yesterday. They just came off the back of us working on the original one that we worked on was the clutch with the strap. That was the first product we thought of. And then we were like, okay, what else can we do from here? And that was just a lot of like, you know, on Pinterest, just like getting like inspiration and being like, oh, that's really cool. We should do that, but in this way. And, you know, what can we use this for? What's the functionality of that? And that's how like those other products came about. And I think it took so long because I'm really saucy. If you're listening, I'm fucking about to give you a good plug. So the first year we just wasted like trying to find manufacturers, trying to talk with people overseas, trying to maybe get it developed in Australia. It was just, the first year was fucked. And I think because as well, I worked full-time, Morgan worked full-time, See Clear was just like our side thing.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why it took so long. And then I remember thinking, I was like, there's just got to be like someone who can just do this for me. Like I'm someone who just, I'm like, here's my money. Yeah, I'm like, I'll throw money at the problem. Like that's me. And Morgan's always like, you need to settle down. And I remember Googling, I don't know what I Googled, it was like sourcing or something. And they came up and I was like, oh, they're in Melbourne, whatever, I'll contact them. Contacted them. Ellie wrote back straight away. Geo, if you're listening, you didn't write back once. And I know you think you did, but you didn't. And
how quickly did he reply?
No, honestly, he wrote back within like an hour.
Wow. Okay.
Actually, I think he called me.
Yeah.
And it was like a cold call. He's like, hey, I got your email. And I was like, oh, fuck, like they're responsive. I forgot I even sent the email. And they were really keen. And I said to Morgan, I was like, I found these people in Melbourne. Like, we should go down. We should meet with them. We should take because we had samples made already, I think from a business in Australia. So it costed us a bit. And we took those. Yeah, so we took those initial samples with us. We came down to Melbourne. We met them in their first office, I think it was. And as soon as we met them, we were like, they know exactly what we want to do. Mm-hmm. Like they got it. We explained it to them. They just understood it straight away. And they were so confident that they could meet what we wanted, that they made us feel really safe and comfortable and that we were in good hands.
Yeah.
And I think they really understand client relationships and, you know, personal relationships and really like going above and beyond. And I think I saw a lot of how I do business in them. And I think that's why I was like, no, these are the guys we have to go with.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing when you think about it from a competitive advantage point of view. You see, you're in Sydney, you see it in Melbourne, you're like, I have to go down to see them. They were clearly onto something. And it is a brilliant business.
To be fair, that day I went down, I was also going down to meet Martha for the first time.
Really?
And I was like, well, I'm going down. I may as well meet these guys. And Morgan was like, well, I'll come with you. And we did like a day trip. And the rest is history. They've, we now obviously work with one of their account managers, but they've just been so great in the sense where if I need to call them, I can call them.
Yeah.
Like I know that they're obviously like running this huge empire now and they're doing much bigger things than worrying about my fucking plastic bag that hasn't come. But it's just nice like that we've built that relationship where I can just call one of them and be like, hey, I'm worried about this, or what do you think about this, or can I have your advice? And
I think they probably respect you as well. I think they like that. I mean, they give people a lot of time.
They do.
They catch up with myself and James, who's another podcaster. Maybe once a month we get lunch down at what's that place down the road? That fucking cafe that everyone goes on about.
I don't know. I don't live here.
Anyway, I'm curious. When you met them, were they still operating in the bedroom, or
No.
Did they have the office?
No, I didn't make it into their bedroom.
Okay.
I went to the office.
Okay, so you entered the office in South Yarra.
Yeah, must have been. It was like a big building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were kids. I feel like we were kids back then.
I know, right?
Honestly.
It's a while ago, 2 years ago.
No, maybe like 3 years ago. We were like children.
So you've launched now, packing, you and Billy Morgan packing the shit out of things last night.
Yeah.
So you've officially launched. You've got people buying. Walk us through what the next 90 days looks like for your go-to-market. Like what would you, if 3 years from now you're thinking, like you're smiling and you're happy about what's happened, what would make you happy?
3 years from now, See Clear will be, not I hope it will be a global brand.
Okay.
We will be probably, I would say, quite well known in the US.
Okay.
We'd be smashing it in Australia.
Okay.
And I think that what we're doing with the whole Clear concept, I don't believe it's been done.
Yeah.
And I think that we are creating...
It's definitely a niche.
Yeah, I think that we're creating like a new category, whether it's in the fashion or accessory space.
Yeah, it's definitely been a format for certain brands to do, but it's not been a niche.
It's been part of like, you know, like if you have like a clothing brand, it's like, oh, we'll sell a Clear tote bag.
Yeah.
But our main thing is the clothing
Everything's
brand.
print. And,
yeah. So I think what we've done, I don't think really exists, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, it is very exciting
to continue building it with Morgan.
Let's finish off with some rapid fire questions.
I really wish that I read these.
Morning and evening routine. What's that look like?
Morning, I am up at 5:30.
Okay. Wow.
Every morning. I am either at Pilates or I'm going on a 10-kilometre walk.
Okay. 10K walk, fuck.
Yep. I am then coffee in hand. I'm getting ready for work. I'm out the door by probably 8:30. Yeah, my days are in the office, meetings, phone calls, whatever it might be.
And at night?
And then night, I'm usually home at probably, if it's an early day, 7. Otherwise, if it's a late night in the office, maybe like 9 or 10. I haven't cooked dinner for myself in probably a year.
Wow.
I'm not that girl who cooks.
Really?
I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I'm too impatient for it. I
love to cook.
Yeah. Sorry to any guys out there who, you know, I'm not a cook. So, yeah, I'm usually just like takeaway or
Uber Eats, surely.
Or I don't eat, or I don't know. I actually don't know what I have for dinner.
Okay.
Yeah, Uber Eats probably, yeah. So, yeah, that's my night routine. Then I come in bed at I try and get into bed every night at least 10.
Okay.
Because I really need the 8 hours.
Yeah, so you may be getting 7.5. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, something that I do is I keep a gratitude journal.
Okay.
So every morning, it's only 5 minutes, like morning, night. And every morning you write in it 3 things that you're grateful for, 3 things that you want to happen today, and then a daily affirmation. And then before bed, I'll write in it, and it's you write 3 amazing things that happened today.
Yeah.
And then, you know, what didn't, what could have happened today to make your day better.
Well, it rises to the next question. Best purchase under $200.
Shit. I'm looking around at what I own.
Come on, surely it's the diary.
You reckon?
I don't know. Do you know what most people say?
What?
AirPods.
Well, but they're not 200.
No, they're not anymore.
And I didn't buy them for myself. Someone bought them as a gift. I don't know. Under $200.
Subscription of some kind, a regular purchase.
Maybe it's my Hey You account to watch reality shows.
Okay,
on.
nice. What have you been watching lately?
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills because the new season's out.
Okay.
And I really need to watch Drive to Survive.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah, I haven't-
This season is very good, mainly because of what happened with COVID.
Oh, okay.
It's really interesting to see how they got around it all.
Yeah. Honestly, I was a really big TV watcher, but since See Clear started to launch and MGMT has just grown again, I haven't been able to just sit in front of the TV and watch.
I've got maybe 40 minutes to an hour a night where I can do that.
Yeah.
The thing I have been watching recently is Startup,
What's
which
that?
is it's on Netflix.
Okay.
Check it out. It's very interesting. It's about a startup, but not the startup you'd expect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think TikTok has also ruined my attention span.
I spend about 3-4 hours on TikTok a day for work.
Yeah.
Kat, thanks so much for coming in.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, well, you gotta go
What
get
time is
lunch.
it? Oh, fuck, I do have to go. All right, shit.
Where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me. My personal Instagram is at Kat Moses.
Mm-hmm.
My MGMT account is at MGMT2_. See Clear is CEE. Oh my God, I don't know if it's either 1 or 2 underscores.
It's all right,
Clear,
we'll link it.
One of the two. Yeah, that's where you can find me. And yeah.
We'll link all of that for anyone who wants to have a look. Kat, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for checking out this episode. If you do like it, please subscribe. And of course, if you're watching the YouTube video as well. We'd really appreciate that. You can also find our Clips channel in the description. For audio, if you're not already listening, you can search Uncommon on Pocket Cast, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts quite easily. For video, if you're not watching, you can search Uncommon on YouTube. And for behind-the-scenes takes and clips on social media, then definitely check out at Uncommon_show on Instagram. But otherwise, look, thanks so much for tuning in. And until next time, thanks for listening.